Just hit it.
Perfect. Helps if I share my screen. Oh, I am sharing. Look at that. Awesome. So, as you all know, we did postpone the last product review, so this one's going to be a bit bigger. We are not going to be demoing everything we've done because we would be here for a long time, but we will be going over some of the big things. And yeah, let's just get started. So, starting off, actually, I will just throw the link here in the chat. As we're going through as well, we do know that some people are having some chat issues. So Robin has pasted the link for the feedback mural in the chat. And you can go ahead and paste your feedback on there if you aren't able to access the chat. And we'll be keeping an eye on that and addressing feedback at the end as usual. So Sprint 26-27, accomplish goals. We've been doing a lot on the technical side to sort of get things as stable as possible and get things structured in a way that we can go faster. And we've sort of implemented that initial foundation point where we are right now in the product development. It's a really good time to just really solidify where things are at so things can be enhanced on accordingly. So we've been doing some database changes to accommodate reassessments. That's one of the biggest focuses we have. Reorganizing the API structure, that's a very technical thing as well. Upgrade Beautify, that's our UI framework. Cypress setup for QA, I'll be getting into that a bit later. Creating common components, that's things that are shared between different user types. Revalidating SIN on student account change, and Swagger, some cool words in there. On the development side, for the institution, we've been working on institution reporting a change, some program information request application overlap and program year validations, dynamic designation labels. Again, some of this we will be demoing shortly. Editing the account details, student requesting a change UI and structure, and the reassessment structure that goes along with that. On the ministry side, we have a new view of viewing the assessment or the actual assessment tables. So not necessarily the actual assessment itself, but when you have one assessment, when you have two assessments, and so on. Viewing student files, that would be the uploaded files, receiving the part-time feedback file, and again, dynamic designation labels and institution account details. On the QA side, which we'll be getting into as well, some automated testing. We've been working on student and institution test cases. And on the design side, we have some accessibility. We had an accessibility review done, and we have some feedback from that and our approach going forward. So just some context. The product reviews for Sprint 26 and 27 have been merged into one. That's why this is seeming like a lot so far. So sorry, I'm going to be talking a lot. Team changes. As everyone's well aware, we currently do have our vacant product owner spot, but we're accommodating to make sure things are still going. We're still going as fast as we ever were. We have a new business analyst joining us, Sarab. We're continuing to work on the reassessment structure, everything that goes along with what a reassessment is. The accessibility UX cleanup continues and is nearing completion. Baseline student automated UI QA tests are complete. We're going to continue writing further test cases and integrating it with our development structure as we continue. And we are starting a project here coming up with the federal file integration. So that's sending like our eCert files, our feedback files, etc. I'm just going to pass it to Alys for a minute here.
Sure, thanks, Andrew. So yeah, folks will remember back in early March, Arena showed us the MVP list. And if folks wanted to see that, it's on our Teams channel. We have gone through that, of course, and there's a whole bunch of open tickets or in progress tickets. So we are focusing on getting all of the requirements for all of those open or in progress tickets. So that includes, there's some restrictions stuff, there's some tuition remittance. Just finished a meeting talking about some of the Appendix 8 pieces. So all of those other pieces, the kind of last little dangly bits of requirements, that's what we're working on getting so that the dev team has everything they need to get stuff built. And if you're wondering about what's happening, because I know this meeting is super fast and we give you this super high level overview, but if you're wondering about some of the more details, we just encourage folks to reach out to the feature owners or reach out to myself, and we can try to answer more of your questions. And you're probably going, well, how do I know who a feature owner is? Again, if you go into Teams, there's the mod FO Connect. And when you go into that, you can go into the files, you can go into the scope folder, which will show you the MVP list, and you can see all of that. And beside each one of those, we've identified the feature owners. So if you're ever wondering, please go into the Mod FO Connect area, snoop around, take a look, see what's there, and certainly ask us questions about that. Thanks, Andrew. Pass it back.
Awesome. So jumping into some demo stuff, just to keep the train going here. Just wanted to quickly caption sort of what's happening with our test environment. For those of you who have maybe peeked around, been seeing some things here and there, it might look different than what I show you today. Because of the reassessment work that we're doing, we haven't deployed to test in a little bit, just because when we actually do the deployment, a lot of the things like the current applications and the associated assessments and other pieces of data will break. We are purposely doing that to sort of cut down on some of the dev time and not actually managing how to move that data around, just because we're not in production yet. Actually in production, it'll work obviously differently and we won't just be breaking everything. But being at this stage in development, we can cut down on some time by not worrying about that. So again, just some of the things today that I show you won't be in test yet, but it will be once things are more stable, then we're ready to sort of push the next bunch of features. Awesome. So with that, let's jump into the designation, label, and student dropdown updates. So it's not, this one's not a huge one, but something that really helps put some pieces together. One thing that you may have noticed is these badges here for their designated status were always hard-coded. They never actually did anything. So regardless of the actual what you did for an institution, designating them or not, it always said designated. Now I'm not going to walk through the entire feature of what it is, but you can see here that this location, for example, is designated where the other ones are not. And you can know this by under the designation, there is a location for that's approved for designation. Again, if you want to see the whole complete feature, we showed it, I believe, it wasn't obviously last sprint demo because that one was canceled, but I believe the one before that is the one we demoed, and you can always go have a look at that. But this same view exists on the ministry side. So the same thing with the ministry view labels is everything should be working appropriately now. So if you complete a designation agreement, add a location, etc., you'll see that the statuses reflect. What that also means is now that we are dynamically pulling the designation status is the student dropdown on the student application side. When they pick the institution, it only now shows the actual designated institutions, not all of them. Awesome, so that one's nice and quick. The next one on the list here is some of the requested change stuff. This is not fully complete yet, but we've done several chunks of it. I'm just going to grab a student here. What this means is basically after a student has filled out their application, after they've confirmed their assessment, they got the results, and once a institution has confirmed enrollment, at that point, students can't just edit their application anymore. It has to go through a different process just because once they edit it, it's going to change their awards, very likely. So with that is they need to ask to change it effectively. So in this, we've added a section here where students can request a change. Again, this is not a complete feature yet. There's some content missing and some other functionality. What this is this here is just a simple menu about they need to supply an application number that is eligible to actually be requested on. So for example, I believe 6, I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This application here doesn't exist for the student. So they can't submit or request a change on an application that doesn't exist. Also, if an application is not eligible yet, for example, if it's in draft, you can't request a change on a draft application, you just go and finish it. So in this, you have to supply a actual application number. Again, content to be added there to make things more clear. And then what you want to request a change. This is one that is not complete yet. It's not a complete list. These are sort of placeholder data until we dig into those requirements further about what you want to request. So obviously I put in the wrong number here. Great. So now I'm on the next part. So that means that that application was eligible to be requested on. At this point, a student can enter the data that basically we need to run the assessment on, but with something different. So in this case, we just put a placeholder for what about the income. Student needs to supply a new income for whatever reason. Again, requirements still to be determined. So they're just going to input $10,000 for new income. At this point, when they submit that, that is going to go over to an institution. Just need to check their name, who I'm working with. Sorry, and that's going to go over to the ministry. I think I said institution. I meant ministry. Side to do something with. This is Miss Smith. And I believe it's this guy. So this here, I went to that pretty quick, but this is the new table that we started introducing about assessments. So this is where you'd go to see the original assessment, any changes that may have caused the new assessment, including things like scholastic standing, which we haven't done yet, but anything in there. There's going to be a little spot right here where you can actually view the actual assessment associated with that request. For example, this was the original assessment, so there will eventually be a little button here where you can view their assessment. Originally, a few times ago, we had a different sort of UI on the side here about where you'd go to see it, but now everything's in this view. You'll see one request up here that says pending. That means they have a pending request. When you look at that, that's where you'd see what their new income is. At this point, the staff are able to approve this to actually do a reassessment or not. Yes or no, and add a note. The student can ask for more than one at a time. Basically, as long as one of them is approved to do a reassessment, we'll run the reassessment. Now, I know what most people are thinking. This seemed like a complete nightmare to go and look to where their application is. How are we going to know who's actually submitted it? There's going to be another view outside of this to actually help the staff navigate to what's actually pending. What are all the requests that are currently in pending state for all the students? So you don't have to go and look at every individual student because that's just not practical. So there'll be another view outside of it about how to get there. So that was actually the student request the change, the ministry user completing the change. I can zip through that one more time just to do that because I did it quick. So you'll see a pending request here. There'll be a request form, complete it, and then complete student request. And then it'll go down here and there'll be a new assessment there for the student with possibly new awards or whatever was changed. Ministry user views assessment table. Okay, and that's this structure here. Again, originally we had showed some concept wireframes, possibly about the notice of assessment being outside and a timeline. It got too complicated basically, and the logic just wasn't working very well. So in this view, it's basically a catch-all for every assessment that has to do for a student and their application. Sorry, just the application for a student. So this is not every assessment for a student. This is all the assessments for this application for the student. Example, if I go to this one, you'll see it has an original assessment. The pending one's not here because it's not pending for this application. 1018, next one. Gonna have a look, bit of a shift here away from everything to do with assessment. Just gonna grab a sip of water. Awesome. So currently in production as well, but this is quite similar. Students can upload files to their account. We'll walk through this super quick. I'm gonna go to, we're gonna log in as Miss Smith again. We had shown this one, I believe, last product review when we did that. So I won't go through this too much, but this is where a student can upload a file, any file, as long as it meets the criteria here. So we've seen this before, so I'm just going to make sure I'm just going to upload a random test document. That will make the number 2. This behavior here for application number works the exact same way as student reporting a change, but isn't based off of it being eligible to upload a file. It just has to exist for the student. So it doesn't have to be in a particular state at a particular time. It's just a free field there. It is optional. It doesn't have a red asterisk, but we could make that more clear for the student. So there you go. Student upload a file. That was it. Again, we've seen that side before, but now this is the ministry side. We are working on an actual notification about how do we know that they uploaded something. That's sort of a feature to come, which we'll probably share next sprint review or after it's been done. Password. Awesome. Students, Miss Smith. And you'll see here now that there's 2 uploaded files. So all I did was click search for student, type in their last name, hit view, and look at their file uploads. As you'll see, there was no application number because I didn't put one in. You can click and download and view accordingly. For the most part, you can override most things that are done on the client side with how your browser behaves. For example, if I did the same thing in Firefox, it does work slightly different, and most of that's browser behavior. So again, the notification about how do we know that that just happened, is it coming in the future? Close future, I should say. Great, next one, just time checking myself here. Automated test cases for QA. We did briefly touch on this last time. As you guys know, we do have someone new with us, Mr. Bavik. He's working on writing all of our test cases, or at least starting them. There's a lot of test cases to go through. This uses a product called Cypress. Cypress is a automated testing platform. There's a whole bunch out there, Selenium's another, but Cypress, one of the main purposes we're doing it for now is UI testing. So I'm going to just pull it up here. It'll just take a second about what this looks like. While that's loading, this is specifically about QA. This is not UAT. This is not prod deployment testing, things like that. This is for QA to help our internal team find bugs quicker and fix them before they actually go further. It is something that can be scaled to do a whole bunch of different types of testing. Right now, it's just UI testing. So I'm pulling it up here. So what this is you can see some test cases here that we've written. And I'm just going to show what one kind of looks like, show what the tool does. You can make it do almost anything. This right now, I clicked on, I think it was student welcome page. So you can run this in your development pipeline as well. You can run it locally. You can run it against different environments. And what this will do is this is going through testing, well, what we wrote it to test. In this case, as you can see on the left here, validating the student URL, validating the welcome page that we logged in. It's going through right now about like this part here is logging in with the BC services card. It does go fast. That's the whole purpose of it. And the nice thing is I can hit go and go make myself a coffee. It will run completely autonomous. As you see here, green check marks mean good. You can click on it to see exactly what it ran. When running locally, you can actually record it to know what happened. A lot of different things. Again, I won't go through the entire product because that will take a long time. You can also run it not in a browser like this. So all you see is basically this list show up, green check marks. That's called a headless mode for those who are familiar with that term. So again, that's for QA, it's not UAT, specifically for the team to make sure that the system's doing what we built it to do. Some other things here that I'm not gonna demo just because some of them are very technical and some of them would be really boring to show. We have implemented Swagger. Swagger is a sort of, it's an API documentation sort of point. This is probably more geared toward the technical people, but we do have it set up so you can see in dev and test only right now how the API works. It's basically just like in-code documentation sort of thing. Those that are familiar with it, feel free to investigate or send me a note. As you saw, it was just /Swagger. Cypress, that's what we just went over. That's the automated testing platform tool. And these two guys, send part-time entitlement file and receive part-time feedback file. The part-time entitlement file, otherwise known as part-time disbursement file, part-time eCert file, has a few names. That's the file for part-time students that we send to our federal partners to pay students. We have started the structure of, or sorry, I shouldn't say we started the structure, but we have basically built the current part-time file, knowing that there's changes. So at least when it comes to integration testing, which is coming up, that we're as ready as we can be. With that, we also have a feedback file that comes back. That feedback file contains the errors that happen during disbursement for a student. More often than not, they don't have errors or they aren't actually like fatal errors. They might just be warnings, but we have implemented that as well. Right now, that report doesn't go anywhere, but we are basically saving them on our side to do something with them down the road. Again, not going to show them just because we'd be here a while and they're not super exciting. I'm going to pass it over to Lynn here so you guys can stop listening to me. And she is going to talk through the accessibility updates and design system changes about what happened lately.
Thanks, Andrew. Hello, everyone. It's good to be back and presenting to you guys. And so let's talk about some design stuff that we've done on the mod side. So Andrew had mentioned earlier that GDX did an accessibility audit on what we have built so far. So GDX is kind of the, I don't know the acronyms, I forget, but they're central government who's done our accessibility audit for us. We received a high-level summary of the accessibility challenges related to just the institution experience for now. And these requirements that we need to implement come from an organization called W3C or WCAG. These are just organizations that create internet standards, including accessibility across the board. And so we are required by law to meet AA standards But it's also the right thing to do moving forward with our future digital products, right? So what we have done so far is updated the institution mockups to meet these AA standards. There will be an audit for students and also the staff experience in the future. But today we'll just talk about the institution side of things. And so from the report, what worked really well was keyboard navigation. And keyboard navigation as it relates to accessibility just means that you can navigate and interact with the interface just using a keyboard. Another thing that worked well was screen magnification. So this just means that you can zoom into maybe like 500% and it won't break the layout, things won't overlap. You can still read the screen as you need to with screen magnification. So those are really good. Those are really good things that we've hit so far. However, we still need to make some updates, and we have been making them. And some of these updates are things on the right-hand side here, like color contrast, heading styles, and we've made also updates to design system components. There were other updates, but because I only have 10 minutes, I'll just highlight the two biggest ones that we've had so far. For color contrast, we've updated our brand colors. Like so here, you'll notice that these are kind of our brand colors that we've started to update slowly, adding a little bit more colors so they're not so neon. The most offensive colors for accessibility were really the orange and the green. They're very neon, and so it could be really hard to tell the contrast when you have text on a neon green background, and so we've made that change there. An example is that we've updated our badges on the right-hand side here. So these are now our new badges. You'll notice that they're in this style now. Previously, they were in the style, which was quite offensive in terms of the accessibility contrast ratio. We have also updated our other badges, the status badges. You'll notice that they're now capitalized instead of all uppercase. When they're all uppercase, the screen reader might read it out in a screaming way. So we don't want to, if for those who are using screen readers, we don't want to shout at them. And so we've made those updates all around, including our badges there in terms of that. So those are just a little things that we have updated that will make a huge impact to our accessibility users. So moving forward, that was just a color contrast on that side. The next one is really headings. So headings are, and I know this is small right now, so I'll kind of zoom in just shortly here, but headings are things like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. We call them for short as H1, H2, H3. We need to define headings in the design so that screen readers can announce the text hierarchy on the page. So for example, screen readers should announce a button as a button and as an H2 as a heading level 2 and so on. And so what we have done is we looked at all the designs to date, and I'm just going to flip over to Figma actually and kind of show you in our design system what that looks like. Just kind of get closer in there. So here is really what we've done. It's a template for heading usage, especially on our forms. We took a look at all the forms across all the users and kind of determined a layout that would kind of work for a lot of different scenarios and situations. So as you can see here, we've just noted here, this is a heading 1, heading 2, heading 3s are in the cards like so and so forth. So we have we've firmed down our guidelines around the heading styles as well. And so what that means is that screen readers will just be able to pick it up and read the page in a hierarchical way so that users know what section they're in and what they're going to be reading next. So that was really the heading style of things. As a part of this work, we also included accessibility standards across our common components, such as tables. So I'll just kind of take a look at that here. Just zoom in here. So we have a few updates, such as, I'll just pull up one here. So this is kind of in the previous design where we just had an icon, and usually when a screen reader is going over the icon, it can't really tell what the icon is. So sometimes we'll have to add some text beside that, or just put in some code to kind of let the screen reader know what the role of this icon is, essentially. So this is an edit icon. So how that looks, how we've translated now is, I'll just show you what we have in the design system. This is our table component that we have designed. This encompasses all the different cases that our tables will have, such as name, study date, application number, Sometimes there's text here, sometimes there's a file name here, but you'll notice now that the edit here has the word edit with an icon still, so that the screen readers can pick it up and say, this is an edit link. The action is to edit, right? And so we've made those small updates just to add a bit more guidance in terms of the accessibility layer there. So moving forward, why this is important when we're kind of hardening our standards for tables and other common components is that once we do it here, we'll be able to continue to reuse these components for other users, such as our students and also staff. So for us as well. That idea really is that when GDX is doing their accessibility report for students and staff, we should be getting fewer identified challenges around accessibility, because now we're looking at kind of updating those common components all throughout our design system, and we're going to be reusing them for all of our users. So those were really 2 to 3 of the biggest initiatives from the accessibility report. There were other things, such as here. I'll just kind of zoom in quickly to one area where, for images, as an example, we need to add alt tags, which essentially is just adding captions to our images as well to kind of describe what the image looks like. And so there's some minor changes there and some navigation changes. Again, capitalizing our navigation text instead of all capitalized, because again, we don't want to shout at our users, right? And so those are, again, the smaller changes there, but overall, we're going to continue implementing those changes throughout our newer designs as well. So stay tuned for some more. Katrina and myself, we are updating every mockup and screen to meet AA, just because it's a law, but it's also the right thing to do for our users. So I'll leave it at that. Back over to you, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn. Just on that too, there are some things that are AA plus a couple extra side things. I don't remember if you had said that there, Lynn, but there is a couple other side things that as BC Gov we need to make sure we do. Just going to share my screen again. Awesome. So that's mostly for the demo here. Looking at our next sprint, some things immediately up on the next radar. Continuing most of the technical stuff, as I mentioned at the start. Institution, working on what a pending offering is and implementing that, editing location details, some of the rules behind that. Ministry side, approving that offering, editing the location details, notification for uploaded files. That's what I was mentioning about that gap there. On the QA side, we're just going to continue exactly what I just shown today, but with more. On the design side, we're going to be working on the UX updates for all those users, as Lynn just said, as well as working on some design stuff for the finance reports. Again, those are just goals as it is right now. We do our planning after this, so subject to change. For feedback wise this time, we did zip through that super quick, so maybe if there's a specific thing, I can always zip through a few things again. But for today's demo, as most of you have already been doing, feel free to ask in the chat or on the mural board. We also have the mod mailbox as usual. I do see most of the comments here seem to be relating to the speed at which I went through some things, so sorry about that. I seem to get through it faster this time than I did this morning. I'll actually pass this over to Alys right now if you want to start going through some things, and then just ping me if you need.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm just looking in the chat, and I think I've tried to answer most of the questions, but let's just pull it out so folks see. So as Andrew was going through and showing you some of the pieces where the student enters their application number, there was a suggestion for a future enhancement about a drop-down list, and certainly something that could be done in the future. But just a reminder that although students don't often know their application numbers now, in a future state, hopefully they might become more familiar, because it will be very easy for them to simply flip over and look at their application summary view and then copy and paste that number, those kinds of things. But certainly in a future state after MVP, we can add some of those extra bells and whistles. Student Andrew entered a change as a student of $10,000. He didn't need to type in the Canadian dollars. That was an automatic pop-up. So the student simply types in the numbers that are requested there. And then there was a question about, and my feedback about the idea that perhaps we should take some time and go through the student changes. This is a significant change where students have the ability to edit their application and request a change after COE. That's a big change. So thinking we go through that in a mod business check-in. At the same time, we'll probably also want to do the same thing. And you're going to hear me use very specific language like the student requests a change and the institution reports a change. So we'll show you a little bit more and go into that a little bit more about what are the differences. And then most importantly, what does the ministry user need to do when those things happen? As much as possible, we're trying to automate some of those things, particularly when an institution reports a change. In many cases, we just need to do it. We don't need to evaluate it. But for students, when they request a change, oftentimes we need to do some adjudication around that. So that's something we will go through. As mentioned, yes, Lynn showed us the accessibility stuff. Thank you, Lynn. It's super interesting. And I have to admit, I looked at the list a few times and went, I don't see anything different. I don't see anything different. That uppercase, lowercase took me a few seconds to recognize that. But it's so important for our users that have disabilities or use assistive technology. They rely on that. So really, really important. One of the other things that will be happening, and we mentioned it, and initially when we were planning to go live this June, we had anticipated a content person coming in and taking a look at all of our language. Because yes, sometimes we have some language, as Jonathan mentioned in the chat, about reconsider your application for more money. Probably not what we mean to say. And so someone is going to come in more likely in the summer now and apply their expertise to look at how can we say things in such a way to make it clear and make it understandable, but of course continuing to apply or to align with our policy. So that will be happening more likely summer, maybe into the fall. Phil had asked, rightly so, not surprisingly, the document upload that Andrew showed, which is very, very, very similar to what is currently available for students on their dashboard. Certainly our hope is to have something similar for institutions, but you can see how it would work very similarly in institution accounts. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. I can't recall if that's part of MVP or not right now. But certainly that idea. Then we had a lovely chat about who comes up with these names. I said the same thing. I'm like, swagger. What is that? Who came up with that? That's it's always an interesting and a fun. This is how the tech guys like to have some fun with stuff. They come up with funny names. So. And then lots of positive comments about the accessibility stuff. Thanks so much for explaining that clearly, Lynn. Really appreciate it. And it's also so important, as I mentioned, you don't know you need it until all of a sudden your screen reading doesn't work because the system behind it isn't set up properly. These are things that are completely intangible, but a lot of work for the tech team to get it ready so that all of our students can take advantage of it. There's some information there that Lynn has given folks if you want to go check out some more about the accessibility and that kind of stuff if you're interested in that. That's all I see. Any questions or thoughts?
There was one here up on the screen there, Alys, which you did answer,
Oh,
but I don't know if you wanted to, you answered it in the chat.
Back to the reassessment. Yeah, this is where I said we probably need to go into a mod business check-in. I think this is an entire dedicated session because you zip through it, and I think we want to spend some time going through and really making sure that folks understand from a business perspective what's going to happen. How are students going to edit their applications? What happens? And when they request a change, what does the ministry user do, and how does the outcome of that trigger a reassessment? So that'll be something that we want to talk about, because you're noticing again that I'm using very specific language. We don't tell the system, reassess this. If information is changed, then that may trigger a reassessment. So definitely think it's worth a mod business check-in, maybe in the next couple of weeks. Once it's in the test environment, and as Andrew mentioned, it may not be in there right away, but once we get it into the test environment, we can spend some time looking at requesting a change from a student side, and then in a future couple of sprints as well, reporting a change from an institution side, because those are similar processes that happen after confirmation of enrollment, but have some significant impacts. And as you can imagine, it's pretty complex work. Any other questions or thoughts based on today's demo? Something that you saw?
And just to recap again, as Alys did say, that the part that I was zipping through today for a lot of like the student reporting a change, requesting a change type work, it is definitely not finished. It's just the initial start of the building block. Once things are more complete end to end, we'll probably go through it a bit more as a complete end to end in a future product review.
Yeah, so just probably a reminder that it's not going to be a mod business check-in next week. It's going to take a little bit. This is a really complex piece of functionality because, of course, it touches everything and it impacts, it changes the assessment. It's a big deal, and so it's a really big piece of work. So super exciting to get this sorted out and nailed down. So once we get there, that'll be a big milestone to overcome.
And I'm not sure after this meeting, is this feedback area still going to be available for people, as well as the mod email obviously is available?
Yes, so I think the best bet for folks is to go to the feedback mural. There's a link from Robin at the top of this chat area. And just a note, I know some folks are experiencing some struggles with murals since we've cleaned it all up. So totally appreciate that that may happen for you. Just let us know if you're struggling with that. But if you go up to the top of the chat, there is a link from Robin to get back to the feedback mural, and just encourage you to add your thoughts there. Also to go there, take a look, what are other people talking about? Similar to what we have here, folks have added their questions in yellow stickies. We've tried to organize that into some groups. And then we've also posted replies and answers to those questions in blue stickies. So we'll just encourage you to go and take a look, because you probably, if someone else asked it, I'm sure a whole bunch of us are wondering. So certainly encourage folks to go there. And we take a look at that feedback mural. We go through it every Tuesday morning. And then we're also involving our feature owners as much as possible in some of those discussions. And the feature owners meet on Thursday mornings. So that's our process at this point.
Awesome. Well, glad to get back. Don't see anything else. Maybe it was just too much information, but the resources there are available. Feel free to reach out to the resource as appropriate, and we will see you next time in 3 weeks.
Great.
Have a great morning, everyone.
Thank you.